Husbands, love your wives. How? Just like Christ loved his church. And how did he love his church? With blood and nails and thorns and with a cross. Whatever it means to be a head or to have authority or anything like that, it looks like a cross. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. So if the wife's posture is not a self-seeking, self-interested posture, neither is the husband's. Look not to your own interests, but to the interests of your spouse. Why? Because it embodies and dramatizes the relationship between Jesus and his church. It dramatizes the gospel, where Christ's arms were spread in perfect love for his bride. When can I speak only to the husbands for a moment? When you look at your wife, everything you think and say, everything we think and say, should be shaped and governed by the shape of the cross. If that doesn't make you anxious and nervous and a little bit fearful, you're not reading the Bible with your eyes open. But preacher, you don't understand, I'm not happy in my marriage. Who cares? You think Jesus is like, this is a really uncomfortable cross. I'm not happy here. I think I'll just walk out. This doesn't say anything about anybody being happy. It says everybody has to die. That's countercultural. What if there's a wedding magazine? You walk in Books A Million or Barnes and Noble, and back there in the, wedding section, you got all the magazines with the dresses and the cakes and all the things, and the picture of a bloody body hanging on the cross. Alabama weddings. You don't see that, do you? Does not perpetuate the narrative. I don't know how to say it more clearly. And Paul has paragraph after sentence after sentence after sentence, insistence after insistence after insistence, that whatever Jesus' posture is toward his church, whatever posture that led him to the cross, to spread his arms in perfect love and bleed to death, men, husbands, those who will be married, that is the posture you take now or will take later to your future wife. And if you're not, you've not yet come to understand what the Lord Jesus has for you. This is why marriage is about your holiness and your sanctification. Because the more you embody the character of Christ, guys, the more you embody the character of Christ, the more holy you become. Holiness ain't a thing. It's not this substance. It's not a gas. It's not like something you can keep in a bucket. It's just Jesus. Holiness is a person. It's not a list of things to do. It's a person who wants to fill us with his life. And your marriage, you might have got in it because you thought you found your soulmate. Turns out you got in it so the Lord Jesus could sanctify your soul for the sake of your mate and the church and the world. So when I do premarital counseling, I usually begin just by saying, hey, why you guys want to get married? And different people say different things. Sometimes it's, well, this person makes me happy, or we just love being together, or, soulmate kinds of stuff. And that's when I tell them, none of that has anything to do with Christian marriage. And typically the mouths kind of fall open a little bit. Some of you may have been in that situation. You remember what it was like. What is it about? It's about self-giving love. And so husbands, what is the consequence? What's the purpose of loving your wife that way? Of dying, bleeding, Suffering. Love your wives as Christ loved the church. Suffer for her. What does that mean? Here's the purpose. Verse 26. I hope it's still open because I want you to read it. Love your wives as Christ loved the church, gave himself up for her in order to not save her from hell, not get her to heaven when she dies, but to make her holy. Why did Jesus die? To make his church holy. Why did you get married? To make your wife holy. Not by presenting a list of demands and expectations, but by allowing nails to be shoved through your appendages. Just hear what it says. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, in order to make her holy, by cleansing her with the washing of water by the word, so to present the church to himself in splendor, without a spot or a wrinkle or anything of the kind. Yes, so that she may be holy and without blemish. You remember those wedding dresses? White, trains, veils, the perfect dress. The dress, ladies, I'm not sorry, is not about you. It is giving you an opportunity to point to the future glory of the church. The dress, without its wrinkles or stains, is a symbol of the people of God, free from the wrinkles and stains and blemishes of our sin. And Jesus is doing that in us. And one day he'll be finished, and we'll be pure, and we'll be whole. And we may think back about the weddings we've been to and all the lovely dresses we've seen, and we may at that moment say, so this is what it feels like to be pure, without spot or wrinkle or blemish. Like, whatever the tone is in your home, it's got to be oriented toward these kind of goals. If you have any desire for your marriage to function the way God intended it, to dramatize the gospel love of Christ for his church and the church's reverent appreciation for the love of Christ. The troubling thing about this sermon is it's not complicated or unclear.